All right, good afternoon. We're going to get started with our webinar. Let me introduce myself. My name is Kurt Hessinger, and I'm one of the full-time academic advisors here for the School of Social Sciences at UC Irvine. So again, welcome. Congratulations on being admitted to UCI, the School of Social Sciences. We're happy to have you come on campus here in the fall quarter. Should be exciting, students coming back on campus, and we're looking forward to having you on campus, and I'm sure you're looking forward to coming on campus just as much. So let me give you a little bit of an overview of how we're going to run the session. For the next about half an hour or so, 35 minutes, we're going to give you a presentation on the International Studies major and everything related to that major and how to opportunities and resources and things like that. And then after we're done with the presentation, then we're going to have a live Q&A session with our academic advisors in social sciences. And if you can actually hold off your questions in the Q&A box until after we're done with the entire session, that would be great, because then that'll allow us time to answer your questions fully once the session is ended. So right now, for the next half hour or so, you can just sit back and listen and think about the questions you want to ask later, and then we'll go ahead and have a live Q&A when we're done. Okay, so we're going to get started. So again, in a couple minutes, I'm going to introduce, you're going to be able to hear from Patrick Del Rosario from the Social Sciences Academic Resource Center. He's going to talk about the opportunities that we have for our undergraduate students at the Resource Center, which is an amazing location to do a lot of things related to your academics. After that, we're going to talk a little bit more about graduation requirements and how to get from point A to point B to graduate from UCI. Then we're going to talk about School of Social Sciences requirements and how that factors into your major requirements. Then a little bit more about the Department of Global and International Studies and the opportunities that they can provide to you as well. And then major requirements, so courses that are required for your major, minors and electives, how to change your major if you need to, or even double major if you want to. Also a little bit more about us as an undergraduate student affairs office, what we can do for you to help you out. And then some resources on campus that are important and some important dates and deadlines. And then we're going to have a Q&A session at the end, right? So at this time, I'm going to turn it over to Patrick, and he's going to talk a little bit more about the great opportunities that the Social Sciences Academic Resource Center will have for you. So I'm going to turn over to Patrick right now.
Hi, thank you, Kurt. And hello, everyone. Once again, welcome to this session. So as Kurt mentioned, my name is Patrick Del Rosario. I am the program coordinator for the Social Sciences Academic Resource Center. Essentially what our center is, it's a unique area within the School of Social Sciences and also across campus, because we're the only school that actually has something like this, where we help you achieve your post-baccalaureate goals. So anything that goes beyond your academics, like trying to apply for an internship, apply for graduate school, or find research opportunities on campus, this is the place that you want to go to. And you can go ahead and talk to us. Now, if you don't know this already, UCI is a really prime place to do research. It's a research university, and it's one of those opportunities that you might want to be involved with, and we can definitely walk you through it. So let me go ahead and tell you a little bit about some of the services and the things that we can provide to you. So as mentioned before, I can actually walk you through the different graduate school applications that you may want to be interested in applying to, or if you're interested in law school or some kind of professional school after you graduate, we would definitely be able to help you with that. And we'd also be able to connect you to different scholarship opportunities that are within the School of Social Sciences. And we work very closely with our financial aid office to also get those scholarship opportunities available for all of you as well. Since all of you are international studies majors, you're going to be learning a lot about some of your requirements. One in particular will be a internship experience that you're going to be needing to accomplish. So when you're at the point of looking for an internship or trying to apply for it or going through the internship process, you are going to be needing to find an internship and enroll in a course. So you'll definitely be able to use some of our services when it comes to that. And you're going to be working with us directly in that manner. We also help develop faculty and mentorship relationships. So, if you're applying to graduate school or even for a job, you're going to be needing letters of recommendation down the line. So we'll be able to help you kind of connect with different faculty. We also work very closely with our faculty to kind of create spaces where students are going to be able to interact with each other and, get to learn about each other and interact in that way. Lastly, we also have lots of different in-campus leadership opportunities available for you. In our center alone, we actually do have a team of about 10 to 12 different peer consultants who can work with us throughout the academic year, also helping other students provide the opportunities that we have, and also training you all to be able to do that on your own as well. We also oversee an incoming mentorship program called the First Generation First Quarter Challenge, where we help first year transfer and freshman students integrate into the university. And we employ students as mentors for that program. For all of you, you may be also getting invitations about joining that program so that you can see and make sure, and we can make sure that your transition into the university is going to be good. So in addition to that, those are kinds of the things that we can connect with you, but the actual services that we actually provide is going to be based on one-on-one consultations. So you can either meet with myself or even our director here, who's going to be listed on the slide, Carissa Sorensen, and any of our other peer consultants who can also walk you through these different processes. We specialize in doing a lot of your resumes and CVs and cover letters. In the time that you're applying to graduate school, we can help you develop your graduate school portfolio and also write your personal statements or help you ask for letters of recommendation. Now, in the case that we are going to be back on campus, our office is actually located across from the Student Affairs office, where we typically have a study space available where people can actually do printing. It's probably one of the cheapest printing places if you need any physical copies for something like that. And we're much closer than the libraries. So it's a really great space. And if we did have the opportunity to, we are the office on campus that typically gives out bagels every Fridays. So in the chance that we do actually get to come back on campus, we will definitely be continuing that as well. Our office is still going to be open throughout the entire summer. So if you did have any additional questions or things that you wanted to talk about how to get involved or trying to find other leadership opportunities as you are coming into the university, you can contact us, and you can also look a little bit more in depthly about all the different resources that we have here. Our website lists a lot of different guides on how you can actually get involved on campus or ways that you could apply to internships or anything like that. So please make sure to check us out. Our operating hours throughout the summer is still going to be Monday through Friday from 9 to 5 p.m. So if you did have any additional questions, you could actually email us through the website or through our email, or you can also just contact me directly, and I'll be glad to help you out through the process of your transition. So yeah, thank you very much, Kurt, for giving me the space.
You're welcome, Patrick, and thank you for coming out and talking a little bit more about the SARC. So yeah, everything that Patrick said is 100% on point as far as like how valuable of a resource they are to our undergraduate students. Yeah, the free bagels is always stands out, right? Because that was a big thing on our Fridays, when we were all on campus together. It was a great way to kind of connect, and hopefully we'll be able to do that again soon. So definitely take advantage of our resource centers. Outstanding people across the board that work in there that can help you out. All right, so a little bit more about how to graduate from UCA. Of course, you're coming in as transfer students, so there's certain things that you need to accomplish to get to that point. One of them is that when you're taking your courses in social sciences for either math courses that are required within the major in the school and your major classes, they all have to be taken for a letter grade option only. So make sure as you're enrolling in classes in the next couple of years that all those courses related to social sciences math courses and major courses are taken for letter grade. The other thing that you need to actually make sure you have enough of is units, right? So every student on campus, no matter what major you're coming in as, has to complete at least 180 quarter units. And that's standard for every major. So what that equates to, if you're coming from a semester school, is 70 semester units equates to about, you get 1.5 of those units. So you might be coming in anywhere from 90 to 105 quarter units, transferring in somewhere in that range. So you're going to need some units possibly outside of your major requirements. So if you do find that, okay, I finished all of my major requirements for international studies and I do need some more units to reach the 180 unit mark, then you can actually take courses that are related to a minor if you want to do that, or even a double major or just elective units, right? But the key is you have to have at least 180 units to graduate. So make sure that you hit that mark at least, but you can go over that as well if you'd like. The other thing is the maximum units you can transfer in from any college is 105 quarter units, which equates to 70 semester units. So what that means is once you've hit that 105 quarter unit mark, that means no more unit credit can be awarded from outside of UCI. So that's important to note. So if you decide that you need to go outside of UCI, take more classes for whatever reason, then you wouldn't get any more units applied to the 180 units. You could take a class if you wanted to, if you need to satisfy a requirement. It's just that you wouldn't receive units for it. It would show up, but you wouldn't get any specific units for it. All right. And then the last part is, and you see it down below, I'm sure all of you have aspirations well above the 2.0 GPA, but you at least have to have a 2.0 GPA overall and in your major to be awarded a degree from UC Irvine as well. All right, so the next requirements we're going to talk about are kind of like in 4 different sections, right? The first section is what we call UC requirements. And UC requirements are the same across all UC campuses. So every student, no matter what UC campus you attend, has to complete the same UC requirements. Then there's also what we call UCI general education requirements, and we're going to talk about how those factor into your graduation requirements. Then there's School of Social Sciences requirements that are required for every major in social sciences. And then we'll get into more specifics regarding your major in international studies. All right, so the first thing we're going to talk about, as I mentioned, are UC requirements. So UC requirements, the first kind of top thing that you see there is UC entry-level writing. What that basically means is that most students as a transfer student have this satisfied because it requires completion of an English language composition course. Many of you, if not all, have that already satisfied. So you're probably in pretty good shape with respect to the UC entry-level writing requirement. The next requirement, though, the American history and the American institutions, you may have all of it done already. You may only have one of the two done, or you may need all of it, right? So it just depends on what you've taken at your previous college or maybe even in high school to get this satisfied. Basically, what you need is kind of a one course in US history and one course in American government to satisfy this requirement. So if you still need to complete that here at UCI, you need to take a year-long sequence in US history, which is history 40A, B, and C. Or you can take a year of one course in US history, history 40A, B, or C, or one US government course. And all these courses would have to be completed for at least a grade of C or better to count. So we don't know right now officially like where everyone stands with this requirement because UCI admissions is evaluating your courses as we speak, and it will take some time to evaluate them. But once fall quarter rolls around and we get closer to that, we should have a better idea if you've had this satisfied or not. And if you do, then you'll know. And then if you need to take more classes, then you can work with our office and we can tell you how to do that again. All right, so UCI general education requirements. So at UCI, in addition to major requirements, students have to complete general education courses as well. And at UCI, we have 8 of those categories. The first category is called writing, and there's 3 total courses in the writing area. And 2 of them are considered lower division writing courses, and the third one is an upper division writing course that every major has to take. And then the second category is science and technology, and that's also 3 courses. And 3 courses could be from like chemistry, physics, bio-sci, earth system science. So there's some choices there for sample options. The third category, social and behavioral sciences, is actually satisfied through being a major in the School of Social Sciences. So if you stay with us as an international studies major, that's going to be automatically satisfied. So you get that covered. Category 4 is arts and humanities, and that's 3 courses as well. And courses in arts and humanities would be like, African American studies, philosophy, art history, dance, drama. So those would be some sample courses in that area. Category 5 with quantitative literacy and formal reasoning is basically math, and that actually is covered through the School of Social Sciences math requirement. And I'm going to be covering that in a slide that's upcoming. And then category 6 is language other than English. And so that basically means students have to have a language through the 1C level outside of English. And that could be something you've done in high school maybe, or even be at the community college. But it basically means that if you haven't satisfied it, you can also do it here at UCI if you need to. And then category 7 is multicultural studies, and that's 1 course. And multicultural studies courses are courses like race and ethnic studies courses, Asian American studies, African American studies. We have some sociology courses that might work in this area as well. So just to give you an idea of some of the courses in that area. And then the last category is category 8, which is international and global issues. That's 1 course as well. And as an international studies major, you're going to have this satisfied as well too through the classes that you take. And so those are the 8 categories. Now down below, we actually put down a couple of things because we know we have a lot of students coming from California community colleges. And there's a program called UC IGETC that we're going to talk about in more depth in the next slide. But if you have UC IGETC, or if you're transferring from another UC, maybe you have UC Reciprocity, those are options that may help you satisfy most of these other general education requirements. And I'm going to talk about that right now. All right, so IGETC and UC Reciprocity. So IGETC certification, the key thing here is that it is a community college certification. So it's not something that UC campuses require or that it's done by the UC system. It's really done by the home community college that you're attending in California. So you definitely want to go back to that campus if you know you're UC IGETC certified, and ask them if you are going to be certified, because it needs to be officially submitted to UCI admissions for us to award you credit for UC IGETC. So basically, it's not automatic, right? So even if you've requested transcripts and things like that, unless you actually ask for IGETC to be included with that, it may not appear on your transcript. So definitely inquire when you request transcripts. Make sure you check off a box or whatever you need to do to alert your community college that you want to be UC IGETC certified, because hopefully they can put that either on the transcript, or maybe they'll provide a separate verification certificate and attach it to the transcript. So there's a couple ways it can be done, but definitely ask the community college to send it electronically to UCI admissions as part of your final transcript. So that way we know you have it certified, because that's the only way we really know. Now, if you've done UC Reciprocity, that basically is a letter from your transferring UC campus indicating to us that you've done all of your general education requirements at the previous UC. And that can serve as kind of an IGETC as well, but you would need to request that again from your UC campus that you're transferring from, and have that actually sent to UC admissions as well. Now, we want to actually have those in by the beginning of fall quarter, so we can tell you, yes, you have IGETC, or no, you still need to do these courses. So I'd say you have between now and the end of September before fall quarter starts. So it'd be really nice to get all that in so we know where you're at, once the fall quarter begins. And then the last part down there at the bottom is that all transfer students, regardless of IGETC or UC Reciprocity, have to complete an upper division writing course. And that's for all majors. And so, for example, it's a course marked with a W. So if you were doing international studies, say 145W or 154W, that W at the end of it lets you know that's an upper division writing class, and I can fulfill that requirement. And we can help you out with that as time goes on during the academic year. All right, so the School of Social Sciences requirements. So we actually have two requirements that all majors have to complete. One of them is a math requirement, and the other is a computer technology requirement course. So what happens with math is that we require a full year of math, a transferable math. So some students, and we find it pretty common that many students have a semester of stats completed. And if you've done just that one semester of stats, then you have part of it completed, but then you still have to take more math here in social sciences as well. So, you could actually complete that. If you've done a semester of stats, for example, that would equate to stats 7, right? And then you would still need to complete calculus, math 22B, to make that stats coursework if you want to. If you don't want to do calculus at all, then what I would recommend taking is our social science 10A, 10B, 10C sequence. And that's a full year sequence in probability and statistics. And even though you may have done a semester of stats, then you would still need to take that entire sequence, because it is a different stats sequence, right? Now, if you've done a transferable calculus semester and a transferable stats semester, then maybe you have this done, but that's something we're going to evaluate when you submit your registration and your transcripts. So you'll know what math courses you still have left to complete when we contact you later this summer, right? And then always make sure that you take math courses for letter grade as well. The second requirement is our computer technology requirement, and that's a one course commitment, and you have two choices. One is social science 3A, which is the more common of the two, and that course is offered every quarter. We offer it, in the summer here at UCI. It's taught by social sciences faculty, so that's the more common course to choose. But we also have an ICS 31 course, which is a computer programming course that is typically taken by computer science majors. So that is an option as well, but it is a challenging course to enroll into because it is reserved a lot of the times for the computer science majors on campus, but you could take it during the summer maybe if you want to do that. But I think social science 3 would be a good choice for this requirement, right? And then this course can be taken for a pass and a pass if you'd like to. All right, so the Department of Global and International Studies. So what does that mean as far as you as a student as an international studies major? So basically the department includes all of the faculty and staff that kind of teach the courses for international studies. So as you can see here, you're going to have a lot of courses that focus on global politics, societies, cultures, and history. So that's kind of the common theme throughout the major in various disciplines. You're going to see some sample courses on the left side there. So we have some core courses. As you can see, there's some global culture focus, there's political economy focus, human rights courses, and environmental issues. So we get a sample of courses from that area. We also have a global focus area where you take courses like global inequalities, global and planetary health, just to name a couple of those. And then the most unique aspect of this major and the thing that you want to plan ahead for is the international experience requirement and then the international language requirement as well. Those are two very important aspects of the major. The international experience basically is going abroad, like UCAP, studying in another country for a quarter or a semester. You can attend UCDC, which is an internship program in Washington, D.C. Or we also have local internships that focus on like human rights areas that are nonprofit organizations. You can do an internship to meet that requirement as well. But every student has to do one international experience. So that's a key thing to plan ahead for, because there are certain deadlines that have to be met with this requirement, and you don't want to wait until the last minute or the last quarter to get this done, and that way you're planning ahead. Okay. Now, the other requirement that's important to plan ahead for is the international language requirement. So every student has to complete through what we call the 2B level of a foreign language, which it goes beyond the 1C level. So basically, that means you're going to be fluent in another language more than just 1C. It could be in any language you want, but how many courses you have to complete to get to the 2B level here at UCI will depend on the language, and you have background in it. You can take a placement exam. Maybe you've taken some coursework previously somewhere else. So you want to know in advance like where you stand with that. We can kind of tell you with your transcripts where you might be at, but if you're going to start from beginning one on a language, that's about 5 courses in a language if you're taking a new language class at UCI. So keep in mind that some of these courses are going to require well advanced planning, especially if you're going to start learning a brand new language that you've never learned before. All right, so the next slide we're talking about is kind of all the requirements that are required for the major in of itself. So on the right-hand side here, you see a degree check, and the 2 columns here kind of represent all of the requirements. And you're going to get a copy of a degree check later this summer that has courses that you may have completed already and what you have left to complete. But this just shows you an outline of what the major requirements are for international studies. So there is an introductory global studies class. We talked a little bit about the core classes. Students have to take one additional class like in world history or comparative politics or international sociology. There's also the international language requirement, which we talked about, which is going through the 2B level, in an advanced language other than English. There's also what we call a forum class, and that's right here in number 14. And the global forum class, you're going to take this course twice. So it's 4 units each. You take it 2 times for the major. And the topics vary each quarter because they're talking about current events that are going on in the world. So that's why you take that twice. And then you have geographic focus courses, which is right here in number 15. And the geographic focus courses, you have to focus 2 courses in one region of the world. So that could be like Asia, the Americas, Africa, Middle East, right? So those are some sample areas, but both courses have to be within the same region of the world. And then we have what we call global focus courses, which is right over here in the number 16 area. And those are courses that are global focus courses in various areas. And there's 2 module A courses required from this grouping of courses right here that you choose from that go here and here, right here on number 16. And then there is for 3, 4, and 5, for the next 3 classes, you can select from a number of other types of global focus courses as well. To complete the remainder of those classes. And then the last part is the international experience requirement, which is right here. And those are classes like I talked about earlier, like you would go abroad, study abroad in another country, or like I said, you would do an internship or UCDC internship, something like that, that you need to plan ahead for. So those are all requirements that every student has to complete. All right, and then the other aspect that we have you might decide that you want to do a minor or an elective class, because I mentioned earlier that not every student has 180 units just by satisfying major classes. So major classes might make up a majority of your units, but if you want to do a minor in something that's kind of in a discipline outside of your major, that may be something you might want to pursue. So that's about 7 or more classes in a specific area. It's not required, so you don't have to do it. It is optional, but it may be something that you want to do just as a personal interest, right? You have an interest in learning about some other area or some other discipline, but maybe you don't want to do the entire major, right? So a minor is there as a possibility. And then if you're interested in doing a minor, you can just work with us during the academic year, and then we can actually help you figure out what those requirements are. right? And then also there's elective units. So if you don't want to do a minor, but you want to make up the rest of the units by taking classes in other areas outside of international studies, then you can take those classes in other areas outside of international studies. It could be history, criminology, things like that. So that's a possibility as well. All right, so changing your major or double majoring. Transfer students may have the opportunity to change majors depending on if you meet certain requirements and get a certain GPA in those classes. The key thing to keep in mind is that transfer students have 9 quarters to get everything done as far as graduating requirements. So that's about 3 years. That's the maximum that you have. So if you decide you want to change majors, then you're going to have to meet the change of major requirements for that particular major, or even if you want to add a double major, the same thing. So there is a website called changeofmajor.uci.edu right here. If you click on that, then that's going to take you to all the requirements for all the majors on campus. And every major does require a series of courses to be completed first at UCI, and then you have to achieve a certain GPA as well. So there is a time frame element to all of this, because if you wait too long to start satisfying the requirements, you may run out of time. So that factors into the decision-making process as well. Also, simply meeting the change of major requirements or double major requirements doesn't guarantee that you're going to be admitted into the major, because there are maybe space limits or things like that that could factor into that as well. But definitely, go to that website and you'll see what the requirements that are necessary to complete a change of major or even adding a double major. All right, so our student affairs office, as you can see by the photo, we're a pretty fun office. We like to have a little bit of fun when we can. That's one of the photos we took during one of our virtual meetings. We have 8 full-time advisors. The good thing is that all of us have gotten our degrees from UCI. So we're all UCI alumni. That's a great thing, because we know the campus as students and we know the campus as staff members and advisors. So that gives us a great perspective on what UCI life is like. But even better than what we can provide to you is not even close to what our peer academic advisors can provide to you. And we hire 8 to 12 peer academic advisors each year that are trained by one of our other advisors, Estella. And she actually does a really great job of preparing our students to advise all majors in social sciences. They represent different majors within social sciences, and they can provide you with a current perspective of what life is like here at UCI and how you can balance your course schedules with social life, and what should I do in a certain situation. They can provide that great perspective for you, right? And then our other services that we provide to you as well there. And then we have our location up there, our general email address as well, so you kind of know where we're at. All right, so communicating with our office. So there's 2 ways that you're gonna be communicating with us. So the first part is for the summer, which basically means from now until the end of September. The way you're gonna communicate with our office is via the transfer admin email that hopefully all of you have sent something to register for a form, or you've received something from us from that email address. So make sure that if you have any questions throughout the summer, email us at transferadmin, that's socsci.uci.edu. That is the way to communicate with us during the summer, and then we'll get back to you when we can. Definitely use your UCI email address, very important. This is activated, we need you to use that. And then also put your full name and your UCI ID number when you're emailing us. And then at least give us 2 business days to respond. It does take us time to kind of reply back, because we do have a number of new students this quarter. So we want to make sure we have enough time to respond to everybody. All right, so that's what you're going to do for the summer until the end of September, right? But once the fall quarter begins at the end of September, you have many other options you can use to contact our office. You still have the email option, and then you can actually email one of the advisors individually. And we do stress one, because if you pick 8 people and ask the same questions, then it slows down the process. So you can pick one advisor to email, or you can send an email to our general email address, which is socsci@uci.edu. And we're also going to have phone hours once the fall quarter begins. And we're going to post those in our website once the fall quarter rolls around. And you'll see at the times that we're going to be answering phone calls and things like that. If you call outside of those hours, definitely leave a voicemail and give us your full name and your ID number and a kind of callback number. And then we'll call you back the next time we're able to call you. And then we also have live chat as an option. So that's a great opportunity if you have a quick question and you want to answer, you get a quick answer to something. We have that available as well. We're going to post that schedule on our website. It's not really for in-depth advising. So if you want like schedule planning, things like that, then you don't want to use that because we wouldn't have the time to do that on a live chat discussion. And then we do have Zoom appointments that'll be available starting week 2 of each quarter. And from week 2 to week 10 of each quarter, we'll have Zoom appointments, and we'll have an application appointment request form on our website as well once the fall quarter rolls around. But for the summer, between now and the end of September, definitely send us an email at transferadmin, which is right at the top there. All right, resources. So in addition to our office, we have our Social Sciences Academic Resource Center. We have a ton of other great resources on campus that can help you out, like the Learning and Academic Resource Center, Counseling Center, the Dream Center, the International Center, Testing Center. We have a lot of really dedicated staff on this campus that really want to help students in any way possible. So we may not have the answers to all your questions, but we can definitely guide you to the right resources on campus that would have that answer. And this just represents a few of those offices that can help you out. And you can always start with us for questions about them. We can connect you to those with sending links, or you can go directly to those offices on your own and find out more information. But as you can see, there's some really good dedicated offices here. All right, and so what is coming up next? So definitely some important deadlines. Hopefully you've already registered for transfer advising from the emails that we've sent out. So if you haven't, you have to get this done by June 18th at 5 p.m. That is the deadline. Very important. Don't wait until this deadline to do it. Do it now, because that's your key. Once you've registered, you'll get an email and an invite for your to complete your Canvas modules by June 24th. And that's also another important date, because that's going to unlock your ability to enroll in classes for the fall quarter. So if you have registered and you complete your Canvas modules by June 24th, your registration hold is going to be lifted. And then between June 28th and July 8th, you have the ability to enroll in classes for the fall quarter, which is really what you want to do. All right. Now, during that time frame, if you've done everything, then you're also going to get a direct email from one of our academic advisors regarding some fall course recommendations via email. So you're going to have that email as well. And we'll send that to your UCI email account. So definitely check your UCI email account, because that's going to be a very important way that we communicate with you between now and the time that your time at UCI. And then once you are able to enroll in classes, definitely make sure you enroll in classes as soon as possible. I can't stress this enough. Don't delay, because you don't want to miss out on really important courses, and certain courses fill up quickly, and you want to make sure you get the classes that you want for the fall quarter. And then the last 2 deadlines right up here are related to your admissions deadlines. One of them is July 1st. Make sure you submit all of your official transcripts to UCI admissions no later than July 1st. That's important because you might have a hole on your record if you don't get your transcripts into UCI admissions. So definitely get that done. And then the last one here is the fall quarter fees, like tuition fees and payments and things like that. That is due September 15th at 4 p.m. So make sure you pay your fees before this deadline, because if you miss this deadline, then you get dropped from all your classes, and then you might not be able to add back into those classes because they might be full. All right. So the key is register for transfer advising. That way you can get to your Canvas modules, complete those. Those are the 2 key things that you want to do right now too, so we can get you going with the enrollment for fall quarter. All right, so that does it for kind of the live presentation part. What we're going to do now, as I mentioned at the beginning, is we're going to have now an opportunity for you to submit Q&A questions in the Q&A box. We do ask that you kind of just enter your question in the chat box, in the Q&A box, so we can actually answer them for you. We're going to respond verbally when we can. Certain questions might be responded to, written depending on the question. Make sure your questions are general. We can't really get into specifics regarding your personal academic record because it is a confidentiality thing, and this is on a live Zoom. So keep them general, and then try to send your question only once in the Q&A box, because that helps us answer your questions more efficiently. Right? So at this point, think of the questions you want to ask, enter them in the Q&A, and then we'll try to answer them as quickly as we can. So thank you.
I don't have any questions yet. So we're just gonna hang out awkwardly. Yeah, now's your chance to ask questions. So if nobody has any questions, we'll take off. Oh, hey, we have one. Okay. All right. So first question, as an international studies student, if we're interested in taking an internship with an international org like the UN, would this satisfy our international experience requirements?
So yeah, so the question is it depends on we do have various internships that you can actually complete, and the UN obviously would be a good one if you can get that internship. What would happen is you would actually petition an internship, like all internships that you might consider doing have to be petitioned. So what you could do is you could also, it's going to be on our website, and we can provide you with that information, when you send your email out in the summer. But yeah, what we would require is you to apply for the internship, submit kind of a letter of what your duties and responsibilities are for that particular internship. Usually the internships that work are like nonprofit organizations that have a strong international cultural component. Those are good ones to actually look for. But you can submit any internship that's out there, but we can let you know if we think it might be a good candidate to count for that. But yeah, obviously a UN one would be a nice one to consider, since it would factor into international studies perfectly. So definitely consider, we'll work with you as long as you contact our office. We can give you those answers.
Thank you, Kurt. Okay, so the next question is about the transfer advising registration form. So I'll just go ahead and answer that. So the question is, what do I do if I don't have IGETC right now when filling out the transfer form? It's okay. So our transfer advising registration form is unofficial. So we just want unofficial copies of your transcript and your IGETC. If you have it, if you don't have the IGETC yet, we understand a lot of community colleges don't actually provide those certifications until later in the summer. So please just fill out the form and upload your unofficial transcripts. We just need them to evaluate your coursework so that we can give you correct course recommendations for fall quarter. It's not like official. It's just for our benefit and then for your benefit so that we can actually give you accurate information for fall quarter. So yeah, if you don't have IGETC right now, no worries. Please go ahead and fill out the form and upload your unofficial transcripts. And then once you do have your IGETC, please have your community college send it directly to UCI admissions. And then UCI admissions will record that and we'll be able to see that you have that IGETC for us. And just make sure if you know you are going to be receiving IGETC that you check the box on the registration form that asks if you have IGETC, and that's enough information for us to work off of to do a coursework evaluation. So yeah, it's not a big deal if you don't have it. So please submit the form anyway.
As we're waiting for additional questions, I'll go ahead and introduce myself. So hi everyone, my name is Jasmine. I'm another academic advisor within the School of Social Sciences, and it's glad to see everyone here. Just letting you all know, I have graduated with the degree in International Studies and have experience with UCI's Study Abroad program. So if you guys have any questions regarding studying abroad and how that correlates with the International Studies major and the international experience, go ahead and feel free to ask us your questions.
Okay, so we have a couple more questions. The first question is, can you fulfill the American History and Institution requirement through AP or other testing?
Yes, so you can fulfill the American History and Institutions requirement through AP or other testing. If you attended high school in California, you actually might have already fulfilled this requirement through your high school. This is a requirement that's separate from IGETC, so this is really something that will be determined once we have received your information and what's sent to UCI admissions.
Thanks, Jasmine. Okay, so we have another question. If we would like assistance on resumes and CVs during the summer, are we able to get assistance during the summer when regular school's not in session?
Yeah, I mean, there is assistance in two actually different locations that you might want to consider. One is our resource center that when Patrick was talking about earlier for our Social Sciences Academic Resource Center, that is dedicated to for our majors. So I would definitely reach out to SARC, our office there. They can help out with some questions, maybe do a one-on-one consultation virtually if you'd like. The other office, which is the campus office, is the Division of Career Pathways, and they provide assistance with CVs and resumes. I think they actually have sample ones there too that you can look at on their website, and we can probably put that in the chat somewhere just so you have the links for that. But those would be the two best offices on campus to go to for assistance with that.
Yeah, so I think the SARC office is already linked in the chat earlier from when Patrick was here. And then we just put the link to the Division of Career Pathways. So both offices are really good about helping you develop your CV or your resume and for you to ask any questions about that process. Okay, so our next question. Okay, so our next question is about upper division writing. So this student has said that they've completed their IGETC at their community college, and they also took an upper division writing class at UC Davis. Do they need to take one more upper division writing class at UCI?
So it depends on, like when you say upper division writing, every campus is different in how they do what they classify as upper division writing. So Davis might have a requirement that is upper division writing. It may or may not be the same at UCI. The first question is you would have to take it at UCI. However, if you've done an upper division writing course that's been designated at that campus, there is a petition, upper division writing petition that you could petition once the academic year starts. And they will require typically all of your writing assignments, the syllabus for the class, to see if it meets the criteria of upper division writing here. So it's a yes and no question, right? So you can submit the petition. If it gets approved, then you wouldn't have to do upper division writing. But if it doesn't get approved, then you would have to take that class here at UCI with other students as well.
Okay, so we have another question. Is there an application for the first year mentorship program that you mentioned, or is it invitation only?
I'm not sure if I'm understanding the first year. Was that something Patrick brought up?
I think they're referring to the first generation, first quarter challenge, most likely. To which we can put in the chat a link to the website and more information about the first gen, first quarter challenge. That's related to the SARC, so what Patrick presented on earlier.
If you have any questions regarding the international experience and language requirement for the major, those are definitely good questions to ask about. That is one of the unique things about the international studies major that's separate from our other majors, is that we do have an actual experience requirement and an extensive language requirement. And like I said, we have luxury of having all of us here, and Jasmine has actually done UCAP in the past and taken foreign language classes. So she can provide some perspective as well if you have questions about that. So feel free to ask us any of those questions too.
Okay, so we do have another question. So this student is asking, are we going to meet with an advisor after completing the Canvas modules, or do we need to make an appointment to meet with an advisor? So I'll go ahead and answer this one. So we're not doing one-on-one meetings with our advisors for incoming transfer students. We have an incoming transfer class of about 950 students, so it's not really possible for us to do one-on-one meetings with every student. So what will happen is, as Kurt mentioned before, as long as you complete your Canvas modules by June 24th, then between the weeks of, or between June 28th and July 8th, you'll get an email from one of our advisors that has a degree check sheet that shows your progress in the major so far based on an evaluation of your community college coursework. And we'll also give you fall quarter course recommendations in that email and lift your enrollment hold. So you will be able to enroll once you get that email, and then that email will tell you what classes we suggest that you enroll in. So no one-on-one meetings. That email is pretty much like your ticket to enrolling for fall. We are hoping to schedule some drop-in hours on Zoom with our peer academic advisors. So that would be where you could jump onto a Zoom session and actually ask questions live to our peer academic advisors, who Kurt mentioned. They're the students that work in our office that have been trained to advise. So we will publish those dates and give more information on that as soon as we have it. But that would be your opportunity to ask questions once you get your fall course schedule. So if anything else comes up in the meantime, you have that opportunity. If you have any other questions before that happens, you can always send us an email at that transferadmin@soci.uci.edu email address, and we're happy to answer your questions by email as well. Okay, so a couple more questions. So this student's asking, if we wanted to specialize in human rights and international law, would there be courses we can take for this? Thanks.
So the easy answer to that is that there is no specific specialization in international studies for human rights and international law, but we do have courses that exist in those areas in various disciplines that you can actually take. So if you feel you want a background in human rights, there's actually one of our core classes, lower division, focuses on human rights, but there's also some upper division courses that focus on human rights as well. So you'll definitely have an opportunity in that area. And we do have an international law class that's actually taught every year. So that's another class that you might want to take a look at as well. But there's no specific specialization. It's just that you can take those courses as part of your major requirements.
Okay, so one other question. The student's asking, is it easy to study abroad, and when do you recommend that I do this international experience?
Yeah, so we definitely encourage studying abroad, especially if you're eligible and willing to do it. The process of studying abroad, it takes about like 9 months to prepare. So rather than it being easy or difficult, it's more so that you just need to like prepare and plan in advance. As mentioned before, as a transfer student, you have a max of 9 quarters. So in regards to like about what time you should go abroad, if you plan to study abroad, you'll most likely the students that you can go abroad will be during your second year. So that would mean planning starting in your first year, so once school starts. We definitely recommend like visiting the study abroad office. UCI has its own study abroad office and they're really great. We work closely with them. So you'll definitely be visiting them often and they'll help you sort out and search through the many different programs that UC EAP offers. So with the UC system, they have their own study abroad program called UC EAP Education Abroad Program. And there's like many different opportunities available for multiple different countries.
The link to the study abroad office is in the chat too, if anybody wants to look at that website for more information about how to get in touch with their office.
And you can definitely already start browsing through EAP's programs and the many different programs that they offer. I know for myself, it was really hard to choose a single program just because there's so many places I want to visit. Many programs also have specific cultural incentives with them. So I know for myself, I studied abroad in Japan for a semester. So I wanted to look for a program that specifically had different cultural events, or I wanted to visit specific places that I knew had a lot of historical impact. So there's a lot of different things that you can do through study abroad. It's amazing to actually learn about the places that you're studying about in the actual country itself.
Okay, so we have another question. This student's asking, they currently have an internship outside of the United States, which is approved by the UC Davis International Relations Major Advisor. They were wondering if this experience also works at UCI or if they need to have another international experience.
So typically we do require the students to have internship while they're a student at UCI. So anything that you're doing right now or before you've entered UCI wouldn't necessarily be eligible for the international experience requirement. There are programs that we can connect with that are UCAP through Davis, through Berkeley and UCLA. There's shared experience programs, but those are done while you're a student at UCI. So the answer for that will probably be no right now, especially if you're doing it right now, for that requirement. But it's something that, if it's overlapping with what you're doing in the UCI in the fall quarter, we can take a look at it. But if it's already started, then it's something that you probably have to wait and do when you're at UCI once the fall quarter begins.
And just to add to that, even though you only need to do one thing for the international experience requirement, don't let that limit you. So we have a lot of students that actually do multiple of the experiences for the international experience requirement. So we have students that have studied abroad multiple times, or perhaps you do a program that's in the semester, but then you decide once it comes to spring, maybe you want to participate in UCDC. So other things like that as well, you study abroad, but then also do an internship in the future. So just keep in mind that there are many opportunities available, and there's no need to necessarily limit yourself. I would say the more, not necessarily the more the better, but anything that you're interested in, definitely go for it. It'll just help you build more experience.
Okay, so we have another question from a student about the transfer advising. So they're asking if one-on-one transfer advising appointments aren't available, does that mean you have to plan your courses for your 9 quarters by yourself? So no, we just aren't doing transfer advising for the summer. So that doesn't mean you can never see an advisor. It's just initially for this advising period for fall quarter, we're doing everything over email. So in the fall, we'll start taking Zoom appointments again with students. So basically, you'll be enrolled for fall, you'll be all set, and you'll have plenty of time to speak to one of our advisors in our office before you have to start thinking about your winter quarter. So, and the other thing too is if we're doing those Zoom drop-ins with the peer advisors later on, early July probably, that's a good opportunity to talk to current students as well about what classes to think about taking in the future. You'll have opportunities to speak to someone. It's just not during this initial period because we have so many transfer students to advise, and we're also starting to do freshman orientation as well. So it's just a crazy busy time for us, and there isn't a lot of opportunity for face-to-face currently. But that will change in the fall when we go back to kind of like non-summer times and availability, and you'll be able to schedule an appointment with a full-time advisor.
And just to add on to that too, is that I'm not sure if this was part of your question, but you're not really enrolling in all your classes right now, like for the your entirety here at UCI. So you actually go quarter by quarter. We don't know exactly what's being offered until the schedule comes out for that upcoming quarter. So there's no way of accurately planning out multiple quarters in a row, right? So and also the 9 quarters that you had mentioned, that's not you don't have to stay at UCI for 9 quarters. That's just the maximum. So if you're able to complete your classes in 6 quarters in 2 years, that's fine too. So that's a good clarification too, because that's just the maximum. So we just want to let you know that you have 9 quarters, but if you need those 9 quarters, great. If not, then you can get done sooner. That's fine too. But we'll definitely hear from quarter to quarter. There'll be specific course lists that we'll provide to you as international studies majors that change each quarter. So you'll get that via email. So I wouldn't stress too much about planning out for sure everything that you want to take for the next 6 quarters, but things like Jasmine had mentioned, like plan ahead for EAP if you're going to go abroad, because there's deadlines for that. And then the foreign language requirements, if you need to take like prerequisite courses to get to the 2B level, those are important things to plan ahead for. So those are the 2 things I would be, make sure you have on your radar.
Yeah, I think like really for international studies, it's more like you want to make sure you're doing the math requirement if you don't already have that done, because that can be year long if you're taking the stat series. You want to make sure you start thinking about your language requirement and then planning for either your internship or your study abroad. But all the other classes that you take for your international studies major, like Kurt said, they're going to vary quarter by quarter. Especially with IS, there's like approved course lists that go out. So you won't even know really until you get that list, like what can count that quarter for your major. So that part is very up in the air. But the math thing, the language thing, and then planning for your international experience, those are kind of like the set points. And I think, if you have questions about that before going into fall quarter, that will be something where, you can either email us at the transfer admin email address, or once you get your fall quarter recommendations, you can actually communicate with the advisor specifically that sent you that email. And they'll be able to kind of work with you specifically if you have questions. So yeah, those the fall course recommendation emails are coming from a specific advisor versus coming from the transfer admin general email address. So you'll kind of have a name and a face to communicate with over email during the summer if you have more specific questions. Okay, we have another question. So this student is asking, is the approved course list for fall quarter already up?
Yes, so the answer is yes, it is up on our website. You're also going to get a link to that too in your email from the academic advisor. There's be a link to the approved course list for the fall, so that'll help you out in choosing your classes. But it is available, and I think we may have put it in the chat right there. Yep, we did. So thank you, Jasmine. So if you want to click on that, that's the current upper division course list for the fall quarter. But you'll get that link again in your advising email that we're going to send out later this summer.
And then the approved course list for each quarter is always put on our website, and it's also always emailed to all of our international studies majors.
Yeah, we usually send that list out by the end of week 6 of each quarter. So that's usually typically when that list is ready to go and approved. So it comes out the same time each quarter.
Okay, we'll give it another minute maybe. So we'll do last call for questions. So if you have any last minute questions that you would like to ask us, please go ahead and put them in the Q&A box. Otherwise, we will go ahead and wrap up very shortly. Oh, okay, question from a student. They're asking, is this PowerPoint or the information available from it on the social sciences website as well? So all of these recordings will be posted on our new student site starting the week of June 21st. So after that point, they'll all be on the website. But this information is also in the Canvas modules. So if you have access to your Canvas, like if you've already filled out the registration form and been given access to Canvas, all of this same information is in those modules, and you can actually have access to like the actual like PDF copies of the actual PowerPoint slides as well, if you want to use them as a reference. So all that information is always available for you on Canvas as well. Also probably helpful because then you won't have to like try and go through the whole video that's posted on our website to find the information that you want. So yeah, all of this info is in Canvas. So if you haven't taken a look at that, please go ahead and do that. All right, we have another question. Is there a place where we can check whether our necessary documents have already been submitted?
So I'm guessing you're probably talking about like transcripts maybe for admissions. So if that's the case, definitely check your applicant portal, your admissions portal that you have for UCI. That would be the best location to see what you're missing or if you still need to send in information. That deadline that we had in our slide earlier was July 1st for all documents for admissions. So make sure you get everything by that deadline, but I think you should be able to log into your applicant portal to see what is missing, if anything. So that would be my advice to you, is to do that.
Oh, looks like we have another question. So the student's asking if they would like to connect with students within their major who are transfer students as well. Is there a way to do that?
So there's not really a specific transfer club like in international studies, but there is a transfer student hub on campus that is for all transfer students. That would probably be my best recommendation for resources, because then they can help maybe connect you with students or maybe even advisors, student advisors there that may be international studies majors, but that would be probably the best starting point. Yeah, I think, unless, I don't know, Jasmine, do you know of anything that connection wise? I don't know of anything specific for international studies, but
I know that the student wants it to be specific to transfer. So I'm thinking more so along the lines of, as Sarah mentioned, like later in the summer, we'll be having student drop-ins with our peer academic advisors. So that'd be another great time to meet and see other transfer students that are international studies majors. The other thing would be like, for your fall course recommendations, everyone that's an international studies major transfer student, most likely you'll be enrolling into the same classes. So that's another great way to meet with other students that are transfer specifically.
Oh, so Madeline is saying that there's a transfer group on Facebook where students introduce themselves and state their major. So it looks like there's a UCI specific Facebook group for transfer students. And so then you can find other people that are incoming transfers that way that are in the IS major. So good way to start.
Facebook groups really come in clutch. Like there's so many great UCI groups on Facebook, including like housing as well. Yeah, in regards to other groups for international studies, there's also an honor society for international studies called Sigma Iota bro. I don't know how you pronounce it, but I know what it looks like. I can mention that in the chat as well. I was going to provide a link in the chat to the Transfer Student Hub, just so that you can see that resource center as well too.
Let's see. So the student says, sorry, I have a weird question, but would everyone that's a transfer say, like, if that's something that you're interested in starting for IS majors who are transfers, maybe that like transfer group on Facebook would be a good place to start, and then you could create the Discord and get people to join. So I mean, I feel like if there are ways that you want to connect with other students within the major, like, you know, please feel free to like get online and do, you know, all of the social media type connecting. I'm not going to pretend to be like an expert on it. So like, but yeah. So, you know, Reddit groups, Facebook groups, Discords, all of that stuff, like, you know, please feel free to like make those connections with your peers also. So I know the UCI Reddit is pretty active also. So like, I don't think there's like a specific subreddit for IS or transfers that I know of. But that would be something where like, oh, you know, if you started something or a group, you could always post it on Reddit too, in the UCI sub, and then see if anybody's interested.
Yeah, and another great way is if you want to create a club or a student organization through Student Life and Leadership, there are hundreds of different clubs and organizations that you say that you can just start on your own and get approval for from the UCI campus. And so if you look on the Student Life Leadership website, there's actually like a database of student clubs and organizations. And I think it tells you how to start one or how you apply for a student organization on campus. So yeah, if you want to do that too, let's get that going and, you know, get some more people in the club and a student organization.
Okay, we'll do one last call for questions. So this is like the for real 2 a.m. last call. So let us know if you have any other questions, and then if not, we'll go ahead and end the session. Okay, I think we're good. If you think of any other questions after today, please send an email to that transferadmin@soci.uci.edu email address. That's like your main way of communicating with us this summer. And we try and be quick with getting back to you, as long as it's not a weekend. So yeah, send us an email with any other questions you have. Thank you for joining us today. Thank you, Kurt, for presenting. And yeah, thanks to all of you for joining us. We hope that you found it informative. And yeah, does anybody else want to say anything?
Yeah, just welcome to UCI. You know, we're excited. I know you're excited, and you know, I always have to do this and show you what you need to do, and you're going to learn it. You're going to have to go zot, zot, zot. You're going to learn that as a chant when you come on campus. So yeah, have some fun, enjoy your summer, enroll in your classes, and then once the end of September comes around, it's going to be exciting times for everyone.
Yeah. All right. Well, thanks again. Enjoy the rest of your afternoon and enjoy the rest of your week. And yeah, we will be in touch with you, and let us know if you have questions. All right. Take care.